Hello all, welcome back to Gelvin Valley for Farming Simulator 2015, a farming simulator map by Wild Wild Wes. I'm out here rolling fields, trying to obliterate some of the rocks that I dug up during the chisel plow process. I worked up the field after harvest and trying to get the field ready for planting. And I'm not sure what I'm going to be planting in here next. Last time I did a crop 100% of wheat, and I'm wondering if I need to do something different. I still have a bunch of wheat to sell in storage, so I'm going to be a while selling that. I think the price of wheat, I'd like it to go above 200. It sure would be nice if it would. If it got up around where the barley was, I'd be really happy. Of course, the moment I try to start raising some barley, the price will probably go clear into the tank. And maybe that's why the price of wheat tanked in here, is because I planted so much of it. I've always kind of wondered if the game has a sneaky little algorithm in there that if the player plants a boatload of whatever, then take the price down. Oh yeah, this isn't very level in here. This is pretty bumpy, so I think my roller is protesting going over some of this, but at least it wasn't as bad as some of the outer edge, if you will. Last two episodes, I've been talking about stories that my father told us as kids growing up. The last episode in particular, the one just before this, I read a story of his that I wrote for a class that I had in middle school. So about when I'd have been the 8th grade, probably 13 years old. So it wasn't too much of a story. There was another one, I think I mentioned in the last one, another one of my dad's stories that I wrote up when I was in school. This one I think I did in high school. And I just kind of off cam and looking for it here. I was thinking of reading it also to you. I don't know if this one is, maybe it's as long as the last one. I don't remember. Trying to drive and read at the same time is probably makes it hard to listen to. So I apologize for that. And I don't have a very good reading voice like like my friend Atomic 67. He has a very nice, pleasant voice to listen to. But I'm not him, and his pipes don't belong to me, so I'll make do with whatever I got there. Kind of clean up the edge there a little bit. I maybe should go in the editor and smooth that off a little bit. I wouldn't mind so much, it just gets a little hard to pull this thing kind of around the field when it doesn't want to do the edge. But at least it doesn't take long to go over a field when it's this size. I just wish we didn't have the fog. Unfortunately, going to have the fog, I think, in here for a little while, so I ought to try to make the best of it. You know, there's mods out there, I think. Let me see if I can smash this rock. Oop. Can I get over the top of that? There! Took care of it. Um, has anybody ever used some of those in 15? I maybe should grab one and throw it in. I don't mind a little fog, but several hours of it, I would just assume not. In Farm Sim 17, I made a mod where it would get rid of all distortion in the atmosphere, regardless of time of day, if you turned it on. So I think I made it so you could turn it on or off. So if you wanted to have a little fog, you could turn it on. But if you got tired of it, you could turn it off, and all of a sudden you could see clearly around you. And I know the Giants have thrown in things, I think, as features to their game. It isn't a bug, you know, trying to duplicate real life. I think we all know that, you know, in the summer on a hot day, you can see the heat waves, kind of the shimmering in the air, you know, a distortion, if you will, kind of things you see through the heat wave. And sometimes, even on a clear day, You would think, well, there's no clouds. I should be able to see for miles and miles, and sometimes you can, but other times, even though it's clear as a bell, it still hides, things so you can't see them off in a distance, like mountains and that kind of thing. But at the moment, I don't have such a mod in here, and maybe I could attempt off cam, of course, to bring the mod I did in 17, bring it backwards into 15 to eliminate all this good old fog. We don't get a huge amount of fog where I live here. The fog we do get tends to come in the fall, it seems like, where it will sit around. I mean, occasionally there will be days where it's literally foggy all day long. But those don't happen very often. It'll just sit there right at 34 degrees, or for my friends in the UK or wherever, right, just above zero, real close to freezing, and just be, you don't want to be out in it, and all the worse if it's kind of a windy while you're in that, you just get kind of damp and not a good situation. Oh, cool. We took care of that one. So I guess the fog makes it a little tougher to do what I'm trying to do in here, which is to read a silly story, as if my commentary in here wasn't bad enough. I gotta force you to listen to a silly story that I wrote a long time ago when I was a kid. But hey, I'll tell you what, if you're watching this and if you have a channel and you put a story on there, I'll tell you what, I'll come listen to your story. So, like I say, I'm a sucker for a story. I love hearing stories and hearing what someone's imagination comes up with. Assuming it's clean. I mean, I'm not talking about anything wild or freaky here. Just good old-fashioned fun stuff. And maybe it's because of, what I had in my childhood with a dad that told us lots of stories. So the last one was about a go-kart race where Uncle Henry got involved in Buster Rabbit's life and helped him produce an awesome go-kart, and he took it to the race and he cleaned house with it. He beat everyone in the race, took home the prize purse, and unfortunately the winnings was only $10, and the cost to fix up the go-kart to do it was almost $5,000. A substantial sum which Uncle Henry had conveniently billed to his nephew and his parents, and of course that didn't go over so well. But this other story, this one here, I think I wrote up in high school, so early in high school, so it's probably not going to be much better than the one I just read a little bit ago. But this one here is in a slightly different setting. It also involves a rabbit family again. Particularly Buster Rabbit. But this time it's in the middle of winter, and it has to do with sleds and snow and some of their escapades with that. And maybe before I get into it, you know what? I gotta fuel up, don't I? So let me go down here to the barnyard, pick up some sauce. We'll stop by and hear a puppy. Every time I start these episodes, I mention there's a puppy barking. Well, we're going to go see him. See him there in his pen? We can hear him. He's off to the side. Hello, puppy. Oh, a disappearing puppy. I don't know why that is. You turn your head funny and he disappears. That's interesting. Must have something to do with the animation. I'm not sure. Oh, there we are. And this is going to hurt because I have no money, so I'm going to pay through the nose. I guess I could go clear back to the main farm or whatever, but I'll just get some sauce here. Pay the piper. Listen to the puppy bark. Alright, that's enough, boy. There. See, he listens so well, doesn't he? Already, we can't hear him bark anymore. What a good puppy. Kind of cruise through the barnyard. I think this is our barnyard. I've just chosen to set up the central farm because it's kind of It's more in the middle of the map, more where the beef farm is, kind of straight ahead. Um, but I think the actual arable part is just behind us. But whatever. Let me take off my beacon and indicators and we'll head into the next field. Head over to the corner. This is a somewhat flat field, so shouldn't be too bad to roll out, hopefully. So I'll put that down. Alright, how am I going to do this? Read this here. The print is even smaller than the last story I read, so this, I already have to drag out reading glasses just to do it, so we'll see kind of how this goes. This one here I'm calling The Christmas Story. Hit the rock. It was a cold night in early December. The first snow of the year covered the ground, piling up against the snug home of the rabbit family. On this night, the rabbit family was all warm and happy, devouring a delicious dinner of chopped carrots. With them was a special guest, the little rabbit's uncle. Around the table he would talk up a storm, bragging about the days of his youth. "When I was your age," he claimed, "we had the best sleds around. In fact, nobody's sled could hold a candle to mine. We had races and all sorts of stuff. Everybody lived in fear of my sled." "Didn't you ever lose a race, Uncle Henry?" asked Buster, the oldest of the little rabbits. "Oh, no. My sled was so stupendous that nobody could find a way to beat it. In fact, I designed it myself," Uncle Henry puffed. Now, Henry, the only time you ever owned a sled was when you were 7 years old. I gave it to you as a birthday present," said the mother of the little rabbits, who was also Uncle Henry's older sister. Uncle Henry burst into a fit of coughing and sneezing and said, "Oh, well, maybe so, but I never lost a race." "Can you teach us how to make a sled like that, Uncle Henry?" asked one of the little rabbits. "Well, now, my sled was extremely tough. It was so tough that it never fell apart if I crashed." Henry gloated. "But I thought you said you were a good driver," said Buster. Uncle Henry again produced a coughing fit and made some lame excuse to redeem himself. "That only happened when someone else drove it. Anyhow, my sled was so neat it had brakes and a steering rudder on it." "Daddy, can you make us a sled?" piped up Bethany, the youngest of the rabbits. "Well, we'll just have to see if I have time," Father explained. After the dinner, the little rabbits crowded around Uncle Henry, begging him to tell more stories about his great sledding adventures. "When I was a lad, I was known as the Fearless One," he began. "On my first trip on the sled, I promptly went down the biggest, longest hill in the area. And then there was this time that I took my sled down Pikes. As I recall right, Henry," said Mother, "you were too chicken to even sit on your sled when it was on the level ground." For the third time that evening, Uncle Henry coughed violently, managing to come up with another excuse. Then he just continued to ramble on while the little rabbits looked on in awe. The mother and father rabbit just shook their heads and held their peace. Buster could hardly get to sleep that night because he was thinking about the sled. Tomorrow is a Saturday, he reasoned. So why couldn't Father make a sled then? I think he will. Maybe I ought to ask him right now. Failing to hear the clock downstairs strike 2, he marched into his parents' bedroom and shook his father awake. Yo, Dad, he whispered out. Are you awake? Father reached out blindly and collared Buster by the ears. What in the name of sanity is your problem? He croaked. Hey, Dad, will you help us build a sled tomorrow? With this, Father pulled violently, extracting some fur from Buster's hide. Ow, Dad! What in the world's the... Now get back to your bed before anything else happens, he roared, thumping deeply under his covers to fall asleep. After a shaky breakfast, Father reluctantly agreed to build the little rabbits a sled. Anything to stop their yapping. What a good dad, huh? Let me turn... Yeah, this will work. Now that I have... Alright, I'll get it going on GPS. Then all the rabbits made a ferocious racket, each of them coming up with a different plan on how to build the sled. Apologies, I realize the story is a little disjointed. I'm just trying to take care of my field work as I read this thing. Mother and Father exchanged glances, and Father mentioned something about a windbag's visit to the house. Then they all trudged out to the shop, finally agreeing that they wanted a sled just like Uncle Henry's. Soon they were all working hard. Someone sawing, someone drilling, and someone pounding. By mid-afternoon, most of the sled was complete. All the little rabbits were excited, but Father was dog-tired. Aside from the smashed toe where Buster had dropped the hammer, cut fingers where Adam had run a staple through them, splinters in his wrist where Ryan jerked on the board too hard, and glue in his tail where Jeremy accidentally dropped the glue bottle, Father was feeling proud of his boys for the enthusiasm they put into their work. See, it's got a smashable rock. The rest of the afternoon was spent in varnishing and waxing the sled. They had everything sanded down nice and smooth, and the runners seemed to glide through the air even though it was sitting on the ground. Everything was going fine until Jeremy accidentally painted the floor on which Father was standing. But at last, they were done. The days went by quickly, and soon it was Christmas time. Mother and Father had aggravated the little rabbits in that they couldn't ride the sled until Christmas arrived. But at last the glorious day showed up. The house smelled wonderful with Mother's good cooking, creating a colorful aroma from the kitchen. Buster was excited because Uncle Henry was coming over. Maybe he'd show them how to run the sled. Shortly before noon, Uncle Henry arrived in his Pinto. I think a Pinto is a type of car. He had some problems parking his car and somehow managed to become high-centered on a boulder. All through dinner, Uncle Henry boasted of his sledding days, captivating the little rabbit's attention as he jabbered. They couldn't wait to tell him about the sled that they had made. After dinner, they took Uncle Henry out to the shop to see the brand new sled. He whistled and said, "Wow, that sled's a beauty." "Is that as good as your old sled, Uncle Henry?" asked Tyler. "No, no, nobody can beat my old sled. Yours is pretty sharp looking, though," Uncle Henry snorted. "Are you gonna show us how to ride the sled?" asked Buster. "No, no. My feeble old bones couldn't handle that sort of thing. I'm too old. I'm too old to be doing those kind of things," he moaned. Oops, I gotta pay attention to my driving here. Once again, children, don't read and drive. "But I heard you say to Mom earlier that you are in perfect shape," Buster exclaimed. Uh, I fib, Uncle Henry wheezed. But after much further coaxing, they managed to get him to walk with them up to the top of the hill. "I'll see you off," he stated. Once they reached the top of the hill, the rabbits again did their best to persuade him to go down the first time. "But I thought you were fearless, Uncle Henry," said Ryan. "I am fearless, dummy. I just dedicated it to higher and greater things," Uncle Henry said. Well, at least you can show us how to sit in it," mumbled Buster. "Oh, all right," Uncle Henry said. "Somebody has to show you saps how to do it," Uncle Henry exclaimed as he plopped down. His chubby body fit the seat of the sled so snugly that he was unable to get up. All at once, Kelsey Rabbit tapped the sled with her foot, causing it to move and start descending down the hill with a whoop of "Bon voyage!" And folks, we are done with this field. Woof, 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 stop. Actually, I think I can escape right over here. This fog is such a pain. Make it out that there's a rock. We got a bunch of rocks that are going to need to be picked up. But we're getting most of them with this here roller. I think that noise you could hear right there was a noise of the stream. Alright, this is our next field up. Get it spread out. There we go. Uncle Henry nearly filled his shorts right then and there. "Help!" he called. What do I do? Where do I put my arms? Oh, where do I put my feet? Oh, help! Help! Somebody save me!" "You can do it, Uncle Henry!" Adam shouted. "You're a pro at this, remember?" Uncle Henry was totally out of control and picking up speed. His arms and legs flailed madly in the air. "Look at him go! Isn't he a good actor?" Buster asked. Uh-oh. "Look where he's headed. Turn, Uncle Henry, turn!" "Oh, no!" shouted Jeremy. Uncle Henry hit the briar patch at 40 miles per hour with a ferocious racket, sending briars shooting in all directions. His face was filled with thorns and his coat was torn to shreds. His hat had fallen over his face and he couldn't see. But it kept on going. The rabbits gasped in awe as the sled jerked ferociously and veered sharply to the right. "He knows how to steer now," mumbled Tyler. They turned their heads as Uncle Henry bore down on a stump. This time not only boards flew, but Uncle Henry flew as well. He was flung straight at his high-centered car. With a groaning crash, he was embedded in the grill. The car jerked violently and rolled towards the river. The little rabbits, not yet recovered from losing their sled, which was shattered in a million pieces, soon heard the ice on the river snap as the weight of the car sank into the drain. They rushed down as fast as they could and hauled Uncle Henry out. "Great sledding, Uncle Henry!" Buster shouted. "But did you have to break our sled?" Uncle Henry just grunted and stomped feebly towards the house. He was a sight to behold, with scratches all over his body and his clothes torn to rags. He snuck into the bathroom promptly after entering the house. Uncle Henry didn't come out of the bathroom for 2.5 hours. He came out just in time to hear the rabbits asking their father to build them another sled. "No, let's have Dad make us a race car this time," Buster exclaimed. Uncle Henry jumped right into the conversation. "Race cars? Those are right up my alley," he started. "Why, when I was a boy, I was famed for dot dot dot. Some people never learn." That's the end of the Christmas story that I wrote. And this one here, um, like I say, I wrote it in high school, and it happened to be our high school where I went had publications, or a publication that they had, a student magazine, if you will, and I think it came out quarterly or what have you. I got this story published in that, and so that's actually what I'm reading out of here. The print in here is a little bit smaller. Um, at one time I read all the other stories. I mean, there's stories and poems and all those kinds of things in here. Let me just say that my little story is extremely tame compared to some of the others that were in there that talked about much darker themes or whatever. Um, I don't know. Maybe it just speaks to a somewhat sheltered childhood versus maybe what some of these other kids had going on in their life. Um, Maybe it was what I was interested in versus what they were. But anyway, I was kind of tickled it got published at least. So I've never tried to write a story or anything to try to publish it or whatever. Good grief. I mean, right now I'm it's as if I'm trying to be a YouTuber, and I know good and well I'm not that. I don't know what I am, but I know I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just recording a few silly videos here and hoping someone will come and listen to them, or if not, they'll be here for my kids when I'm dead and gone and all that jazz. If they want to hear the voice of their daddy. And this fog, oh, it's going to be with us forever, it feels like. I can't even see I've got that lousy bar at the top of the screen. I can't see. I got this little weather thing that'll tell me how much longer the fog is supposed to last. So, let me turn on my GPS. Is this kind of the angle it's going? Maybe I'll change the angle. I want to figure out some way to get this. Is this kind of flattish? Maybe I'll go this way. I don't know if it acts somewhat across the hill. Just so it's flat. It seems like it's most efficient when you can avoid going either uphill or downhill. So maybe that's close. This is a really steep piece of ground in here too. One of the reasons we had an auto leveling combine. Oh, look at that. That's pretty steep, and it looks like, blame it all, I am kind of going uphill. But oh well, it is what it is. What can you do? Anyway, kind of like I asked on the last episode, I just read another one of my stories to you. I'd be curious if anybody, what they think about it. Again, probably geared for young children, if you will. Not a mature topic by any stretch of the imagination. Just some good old-fashioned fun. So there is no hidden meaning. There is no deep, dark secret that the author, me, is trying to reveal. Nothing like that. Just good old family fun with a blowhard uncle. And I suppose someone may question whether such an uncle exists in real life. Well, I have a lot of uncles, and I don't know that I want to comment on that here. Let me just say they're all unique. They have their own personalities, and if anything, I would say Uncle Henry's may be a composite of a couple of them. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. And who knows what, I'm also an uncle. You know, I have a number of nieces and nephews on both sides of the house. And who knows what they think of me, um, or what their perception is. Maybe to them, I'm a blowhard uncle, just like Uncle Henry. Maybe to some others, yeah, who knows? You never know the perception of a kid and what they feel when they have an adult around. Probably depends in large part on how that adult treats them, like most of us are growing up. Well, I think I've somehow managed to talk through another half hour, so is that a little rock down there? I'm gonna go get it. Oh, I thought it was a rock anyways. Maybe it wasn't. Oh well. So I think I'm gonna terminate the episode there. Thank you for giving of your time to listen to this and put up with me for another half hour, where hopefully the sun will come out at some point. We can move on with some decent weather here in Gelvin Valley. But I appreciate you taking time to stop by and listen. Wish you the best in whatever you're doing. Bye bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.